Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Money Control live stream. You're watching Markets with Santo and CJ. Well, the market handed a script to US Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell on Friday morning, and by the time it was evening, he threw it in the bin and lit it on fire, Santo, basically. If you look
Not really surprised there. No surprises.
Yeah,
there,
this is also in a way the beauty of the market, right? There were people who were expecting him to be very dovish, sort of indicate that probably, we have done enough to probably rein in inflation, and from here on, let's slow down a little bit, right? We should care about the economy. And then there were the shorts or the bears who knew that conditions were just not there for him to, take his pedal off the accelerator as far as rate hikes are concerned. And clearly, the bears have won this battle between the bulls and the bears. I mean, if you look at what is happening globally, it's chaotic right now. Friday evening in the US markets was chaotic, and I think we are set for something similar here in the Asian markets. Clearly, the Fed at this point of time, some of the takeaways from that speech at the Jackson Hole Symposium was the Fed clearly is not afraid of slowing down the economy or even getting it into a recessionary period to tame price increases at this point of time. That has clearly now meant that a third 75 basis point rate hike is now very much on the table when the Federal Reserve's Monetary Policy Committee meets in September next month. So clearly, Santo, a lot is happening, but let's listen into the man himself, what he had to say about a lot of this issue in his speech.
Price stability is the responsibility of the Federal Reserve and serves as the bedrock of our economy. Without price stability, the economy does not work for anyone. In particular, without price stability, we will not achieve a sustained period of strong labor market conditions that benefit all. The burdens of high inflation fall heaviest on those who are least able to bear them. Restoring price stability will take some time and requires using our tools forcefully to bring demand and supply into better balance.
Well, CJ, we shouldn't be really surprised about.
I know you are not surprised, definitely, Santo, because you were the one who was keep on telling people ki don't fight the Fed the entire week.
Well, CJ, the Fed was always had made its stance clear that it's going to fight inflation no matter what. But it's the market which used to selectively read into the statements. It chose to hear what it wanted to hear. So, we've been having this trend that the Fed says that no, it's going to tamp down on inflation. The market thinks okay. But if the economy kind of slips into a recession, probably the Fed may be forced to withdraw. And even before the Fed was through with its entire round of rate hikes, the market has got ahead of itself, saying that maybe the rate hikes won't be as aggressive, and it's time to look beyond that, possibly a cutting of interest rates starting sometime in March. So I think the bulls pretty much have themselves to blame for the situation they find themselves in right now.
Well,
that said, how will it affect India? I think at this point in time, the Indian economy still looks better placed overall in the global scenario. But that said, we still won't escape the pain. Some of it will feed through into the Indian economy as well by way of slower exports. And I think IT could be one sector to watch out for in the short term. Already there have been concerns about earnings visibility there, and it looks like the sector could be in focus for some more time.
Yeah, that is true, Santo. I think, your point just reminded me, you have to, tip your hat to the MPC actually back home, because let's not forget that prior to the MPC's meeting in August, there was similar murmurs in our own market as well, that the MPC might look at pausing. They have already been iterating that probably inflation peaked in April, so therefore there is no reason for them to indicate they're going to raise rates going ahead. But MPC stuck to its gun and suggested that no, we still see room for raising rates going ahead because inflation is still not, of course, in our comfort band, right? And I think with this Fed speech, clearly now the RBI will also have to respond to what the Fed does going ahead. And I think clearly MPC has bought itself that time. Now, if you look at the overall rate setup for today, Santo, clearly we are looking at almost a 2% cut on the Nifty. So it's going to be a pretty bad day. We told you on Friday that almost more than $1 billion worth of shorts were being carried forward to this week. So clearly bears are going to make a lot of money today, but there's a possibility that towards the end of the day they might looking at covering their position or taking their profits, so that might provide some sort of support towards the end of the day. But I think, Santo, the critical level for the market now would be the 17,000 level. If we break below that, then there is a possibility we could have another spell of correction going into probably the 14,400, which a lot of people have been talking about would be the next support for the market in a medium-term scenario. Or else, if we do hold 17,000, then you could be very optimistic that we will quickly make back the ground that we have lost. And I would expect that around that 17,000 level, till that 70,000 level, you could expect a lot of bearish positions to be added in the market.
It's unlikely to be a one-way slide, CJ, because most likely the market falls, then bears cover up some of their positions. You know, typically
they will add
in the
probably
past,
new,
that's
yeah.
the way things have played out. We've seen 2 rounds where the market slid very sharply, but let's see how it plays out this time. And that said, let's move on to the stocks to keep an eye out for this morning, starting with Lemon Tree. Now, Lemon Tree Hotels opened its 5th hotel in Gujarat, and that speaks volumes about the hotel chain's confidence in business reviving. So this is a 52-room franchisee arm which it has started. But that said, the management has always been confident, at least for the last few months. It's always sounded very optimistic. It has said that demand for rooms is increasing, and that's happening because corporate travel has now picked up quite a bit. Although demand still at this point is about 80 to 85% of pre-COVID levels. Clearly, average room rentals have also been steadily climbing, and the management expects that to continue. It has guided for doubling of revenues in this financial year with a 50% EBITDA margin. Stock has seen a fairly good run up, although there has been the occasional bout of profit taking, but nevertheless the trend has been broadly higher for the last few months.
Santo, I can't debate you on the fundamentals as far as Lemon Tree is concerned, because they are looking quite decent, but I will take you on the technicals, because if you look at, something very interesting happened on Friday, because the stock probably after a very long time closed below its 20-day moving average of about 70.6 rupees on Friday. So that is a bit of an interesting thing that a lot of bears in the market would be taking note of. If the stock doesn't rebound, and it's very unlikely that we will see a rebound given the broader sell-off that we are expecting today, I think it is possible that the stock could then see further profit booking towards around 66 rupees, wherein the 50-day moving average also lies for the stock. So a very interesting times for the stock in the very short term. Interesting to see if bottom pickers come in or bargain buyers come in and lap up the stock, or do we see an extended period of profit booking on this counter? Well, the next stock on my radar, and clearly the stocks that will probably be in the news the entire day, is Reliance Industries. The stock will be in focus ahead of its annual general meeting that will be starting around 2 o'clock today. A lot of expectations. Generally, AGM day is always a high volume day, high action day on the RIL counter, and you can really expect a sharp uptick in participation in that stock. And a lot of investors are expecting a lot in terms of announcement. You're expecting some sort of guidance on whether the Geo and Reliance retail arms could be listed, their guidance on new energy plans, their guidance on fundraising, etc., as well as, of course, because of the recent conclusion of the 5G spectrum auction, what are the plans on 5G? And I think, Santo, the only thing that bulls will be hoping, if that RIL goes on a run post the AGM, then that could probably provide a lot of support to the market. We have seen that in the past when our market tends to underperform, RIL somehow finds its mojo. So it'll be interesting to see if the stock could see some sort of revival.
Well, over the last couple of months, the focus seems to have shifted to the old side of the company's business,
yes.
which is got a lot of bad press relating to the windfall tax on exports. I think that's what has kind of subdued sentiment for the stock. Maybe after the AGM, you could again see the market shifting attention to some of the new business of the company, mainly telecom, retail, and also renewable energy. Some big bang announcements there could again lead to slight change in market perception. So far, I think they've been obsessing with what has happened on the oil business. Now that said, the stock has been struggling to break past the 2800 mark for some time now. That's a key technical resistance level, and I would wait and watch till the stock manages to close convincingly about
I mean, historically speaking, generally RIL tends to give on average about 6% return, a month after the AGM. If you look at the past 10 years data, that has been the sort of performance the stock has given. About 4% if you look at a week past the AGM. So clearly, there is good historical precedence for the stock to perform better after the AGM. That said, you guys can catch in all the coverage around the AGM throughout the entire day on Money Control live stream. We'll be providing you all the insights, all the stories, and all the nuggets around the 45th annual general meeting of RIL. So do watch out for that. Moving on, Santo.
Well, the next stock is from your stable, CJ.
Mine? Is it not Cipla?
Okay. Cipla is the next stock.
You forgot your favorite pharma stock.
Yes.
How has that happened? Oh
Definitely.
my God.
Well, Cipla now, over the weekend, the company has got 6 observations on its Goa plant from
Again,
the US
Santo.
FDA.
Yeah, I warned you about
So
this.
this has been, I think with pharma companies, this has been a recurring feature. Every now and then there is this observation, but how much of it is already baked into the price? Now, this comes as no surprise because the investigations were on, and hearteningly what Cipla said that there are no data integrity issues there. So that is one part of it. Besides, if you look at the recent performance of the company during the first quarter, good numbers there broadly, some bit of softness in the US revenues, but however the domestic market was fairly good if you adjust for the COVID sales. The base was quite high because of COVID sales, but barring that, there was a 9% growth in India revenues as well. Besides that, according to LRI, the company is planning to launch key products this year. The mainly their generic versions of Advair, Abraxane and Revlimid. Besides that, it is already filed for 5 peptides, one of which was launched in Q1, and it's set to launch about 3 in all between FY23 and FY24. Besides that, the India business is also likely to show strong growth. Now, it's a mix of both strong US as well as India rather than one versus the other. Company is putting a lot of focus on the domestic side of the business also, and LRI expects a 7% growth, compounded growth in earnings in its India business between FY22 and FY24.
Well, Santo, all of that is good, but if these sort of regulatory actions keep on coming for Cipla, I just feel that the stock will continue to remain, a little, the upside will continue to be capped, because let's not forget, this is the same unit that a few years ago had got quite a severe regulatory action from the US FDA. So it is very surprising to see that the same unit where the company had worked so hard to get everything right, and again it has fallen foul to US FDA's inspection. So that for me will probably for the time being at least cap some sort of upside as far as the product launches are concerned in the US, and Goa is a very important unit for the company. Apart from that, if you look at on the technical, Santo, it is possible, yes, I mean probably barring the negative news that we have got on the Goa plant, you would expect a stock like Cipla to probably hold steady in a session like today, where you're expecting a decent amount of correction in the market. Generally, a pharma name like Cipla, which is generally a very good quality stock, you would expect it to hold. But overall, I think Santo's stock prices seem a little overbought. If you look at its position, the current price levels to the the 50-day DMA or the 100-day DMA, it seems like the stock is a little overbought, and there is room for a little bit of profit taking. And maybe this news that we have got yesterday clearly could provide a trigger for that sort of profit booking on the stock.
Well, that said, Jefferies has rated Cipla and Sun Pharma as one of among its preferred picks in the pharma sector.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. A lot of interest is coming back to pharma recently, so a lot of analysts are becoming very gung-ho. I think this is possibly because they're expecting some bit of revival in the US market after what has been a very troublesome 2.5, 3 years, but also because the India-focused companies are now coming into focus. You talked about companies like Abbott India last week. Clearly, a lot of India-dominating pharma companies are now in investors' radar.
Well, with that, a quick take on the market. So, steep cut there early in the day.
Yes, more than 2%, yeah, as expected.
Around 1200 points down at this point, and the breadth is very negative. 2,000 stocks are down on the NSE compared to 203.
Basically, 1 is to 10. It's basically for every one stock that has risen, almost 10 stocks are falling on the NSE at this point of time. Mid caps clearly are taking it on the chin. If you look at the Nifty mid cap index, it's down about 2.5%. Nifty small cap down nearly 3%. So clearly, risk appetite has gone out of the window, has gone home and enjoying a vacation.
Well, for the time being, I think that's likely to be the case till the market once again makes up its mind whether the US Fed is going to cut back on its battle against inflation or continue to maintain the same.
I think, Santo, this is of course clearly a lot to do with positioning. I mean, ahead of that event, there was a lot of positioning in the market, and clearly bears have won this battle, whereas bulls clearly are now have their tails between their legs. If you look at the India VIX, surprisingly, the India VIX is actually still down. It's down about 7%. So clearly, it's a very interesting setup for the rest of the day. We will have to wait and see if some covering happens from the shorts, and therefore could provide some bit of a lift off to the market. Well, Santo, last stock on my radar today is actually Delta Corp. Now, why I talk about the stock is that, of course, recently the stock has been riding high. You had pointed this out last week as well, and there seems to be a very good breakout on the technical charts as far as Delta Corp is concerned. It was able to bounce back from about a 62.1% or 3% Fibonacci level, and that level has acted as a good support for the stock. Reliance Securities has said that the weekly RSI as well as the MACD indicators are currently very, very bullish after making a good crossover on the charts in recent weeks. So clearly, there is a good price momentum along with a good amount of volume on the stock, and that is generally a very good setup as far as traders are concerned. So far, of course, the expectation from Reliance Security is that the stock could top around 249 rupees, which will probably still provide about 16% upside. But they say that if in case the stock falls below 200, then you should be trying to cut your losses or take profits. So clearly, overall, the setup looks quite good.
Well, good comeback by the stock after that steep fall from around 334 levels to 170 levels. My only quibble here is that given the steep fall, erosion in price, domestic investors would be a little wary of once again hopping onto the bandwagon. Let's not forget the uncertainty over GST on gaming and gambling revenues. That's still not been settled one way or the other. For now, there seems to have been a reprieve for the company, but we still have to see. Now, the good part here is that institutional holdings in the stock has risen during the June quarter. It's gone up quite a bit from around 16% to close to about 20% now. So, institutions very clearly are bullish on the stock at this. That could probably give a cushion, but I think a lack of enough domestic participation at this point perhaps, and the fact that at this point in time the company now seems to lack a strong mascot probably could cap
maybe
upside.
sometimes Santo moving on from a mascot who has been on the counter for a very long time can be a little releasing, and provides a lot of freedom for other investors to get in and make their money. And let's see, I think on the fundamental side, things should improve for Delta Corp, especially because the holiday season or the travel season is coming in Goa, where majority of their casinos are. Clearly, that should be very good for their legacy business. Plus, the potential listing of the gaming platform, that is something that the company is looking at. So let's see. I think overall things are looking quite good.
Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Markets with Santo and CJ. Thanks for watching, and please do share your feedback in the comment section below.
And as usual, guys, keep following us on the social media links that you can see at the bottom of the screen. And for rest of your financial news, stay tuned to moneycontrol.com and download the Money Control app. We'll catch you again tomorrow at 9 a.m. Today we'll be missing you in the afternoon session because we have the entire live coverage for the RIL AGM starting throughout the day, but we'll catch you again tomorrow live at 9 a.m. Till then, have a great trading session.